Lord had promised me early on in the life of the church that if we build the true church, then He would frame it. And what He meant by that, He would frame it with wonderful facilities, a beautiful building, landscaping. In other words, He would give us a place of our own.
The journey began 3 or so years ago. No, about 4 or 5 years ago, I'm sorry. We started the campaign 3 years ago. About 5 years ago, I think I looked at every piece of property in the city of Aurora. Matter of fact, we hadn't even thought about purchasing the place where we are now. We made an offer to do that. But what it means is that if we did that, then you'd have to spend the money renovating it to make it yours.
CCF Village, as opposed to just simply building another church, came out of our desire to build a facility that would be both kingdom friendly, that is, it would meet the needs of the church, of our church, the practical needs of our congregation, as well as appealing to the community we're supposed to be impacting. We were looking for land that would support the vision, but would also be affordable.
Once we found the land, and it was like a diamond in the rough, and even though we had a couple of times, did our best not to purchase those particular parcels, once we found out what was going on and you went out there and saw the view and realized that our view would never be hindered, that there was, Sand Creek was out there that could never be disturbed, and just the whole ambience of the property, it was just like looking into Canaan. It was great. This is where we were supposed to build our home. This is where we are supposed to build our home.
Since then, however, there have been a number of things that we've discovered about that particular location that, in retrospect, confirm that it is a miraculous thing that we own it. One is that on the west side of the property, the city is contemplating green space. It's all green space now. The Sand Creek greenbelt area back there, it's all green space, but there's not going to be any building back there on the west side. On the south side is the Sand Creek rock quarry, and the city, a few years from now, when they're done mining it for rocks and that kind of thing, is contemplating a reservoir. So on the south side of the property, we will have waterfront, reservoir front property, if that goes forward as planned. The biggest miracle about that location is that Lend-Lease, which is a huge Australian developer, has purchased the land across the street, 500 acres, and is contemplating a huge development project that will be part residential, part commercial. There'll be schools over there, there'll be parks. It's work, live, play kind of development project. It's huge.
CCF Village is important because it brings the vision of the New Testament and the body of Christ working together into today's world.
Well, I think the three sort of main categories of types of businesses or environments that will be there. One will be certainly facilities that will house the church's ministry. We will have a place for CBTS classes that's self-contained and has its own offices, a Global Change Network office, and a rec center, and a Sprouts daycare and early child Christian learning center, and all of that.
It really is about each of us hearing from God for ourselves about the value of CCF Village. CCF Village to me is about not even what it's going to provide for CCF members or for the body of Christ, but for me it actually is more about that it's finally the church in the midst of the community as opposed to behind these, holy walls.
Then there are the kingdom-friendly retail type facilities. So a Starbucks or a you know, a restaurant of some sort. So those kinds of things. The third category would be open space. So your walking parks, your prayer, little prayer areas. I have a vision for an open amphitheater where we can actually have open air concerts and services outside with the bright lights, kind of a mini Red Rocks.
This whole thing, for me, and I believe for God, is so much bigger than CCF Village. It's about, like I said, His kingdom. It's about building His kingdom and equipping His saints, building up His body.
You know, the property that we have now was sitting right there. But we just, for some reason, it didn't look attractive. Because see, we didn't know what God knew. So we passed by, we said no a few times, and then we finally got to the point and really looked at it, did our pre-app meeting, and realized, wow, this is it.
It's not just coming and sitting and hearing about the kingdom, it is the kingdom experience.